This episode of Mission Log is brought to you by HostGator.com. Do you need to launch your own website? If you're looking for one of the easiest ways to register, host, and build your site, you should check out HostGator.com. They have tools to help you get started immediately, whether you're transferring a domain or building your site from scratch. So, all you fans who want to open up, here's a look at my robotguts.com or drcorbyforever.net or Ken is secretly a robot.org. You can just head over to HostGator.com and have that up before we're done with today's episode. Speaking of drcorbyforever.net, a .net address is the best way to get a good domain name these days. Grab your .net today. It gets better, though. HostGator has 24/7 tech support on the phone, live chat, or email, and you can choose from shared or dedicated servers. All that plus packages that include unlimited storage and unlimited bandwidth. Order now with the coupon code MissionLog, and you'll get 30% off at HostGator.com.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Mission Log, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Episode 72. That Which Survives.
Welcome to another episode of Mission Log, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. I'm Ken Ray, and I am for you.
And I'm John Champion, and I am for you. And when I say you, I mean everybody who's listening. I mean you who is listening right now.
Yeah,
I am for you.
Me too.
That's and only you.
That's what I mean, right? And then, in fact, it would be great if you guys would just listen one at a time this week.
Yeah,
because then when I'm done with you, I'm coming for you. And I think you know who you are.
Each week, we ask you to make your mission our mission, which is the mission of analyzing Star Trek to see if there are morals, meanings, and messages relevant to our lives.
This week, That Which Survives.
I think that sums it up, Ken. That which survives is what we will learn.
Yes, but the real question is, which survives that? Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's sort of an anagram for that which survives.
Maybe, just maybe, one of our listeners will have the answer to that question. And they can contact us in a multitude of ways: Facebook, Skype, and Twitter. All three places the handle is Mission Log Pod. You can call us at 323-522-5641. You can email us at missionlog@roddenberry.com. You can even visit us on the web, www.missionlogpodcast.com. Remember, we may use your comments on an upcoming episode of Mission Log.
Now, you see, there were two ways to go with that whole I am for you thing.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy, which I think we did.
Okay, good.
Hopefully pretty well. Mm-hmm. I wish I were just a listener to the beginning of this show, not in on it, because I want to know if that creeped people out as much as I hope it did. But the other thing that I kept thinking all the way through was she's like the greatest campaigner, kind of.
In her zombie-like...
like a booster. Like, I am for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I am for you. Like that. Mm-hmm. I kept picturing like a really weird, really slow grassroots political organization.
Which is very, very slow.
Mr. Diamato, I am for you. Right, like that kind of thing.
I like that.
Let's rally everybody. Well, or I'll just kill you and move on to something. I'm for Sulu now. That's it. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, this is just the rehearsals, and when we go back and do the real show, we can, we can really hit on that.
Yeah,
the political campaign aspect.
Maybe next time. Yeah, it's a subtext. It's like I don't know, like the Manhattan Projects meet the Manchurian Candidate, and it's really not like either of those things.
Yeah,
but I thought it'd be fun to say it was. Hey, you know what else would be fun, John?
What's that?
You know what else would be fun, John?
I do know it would be fun. It would be trivia. It would be loads of fun. All right. You ready? You ready for this?
Here we go. I am for trivia.
Okay, this trivia is for you. This episode, That Which Survives, was directed by Herb Wallerstein. You remember Herb, right? We met him on the Tholian Web when he took over for Ralph Sininsky, who got canned midway through the shoot. Of course, the major guest star on this episode, Lee Merriweather, who plays Losira. She was Miss America in 1955. She did a lot of TV and voice work. She appeared in an episode of Fantasy Island, which, of course, starred Star Trek alum Ricardo Montalban. And her episode of Fantasy Island also starred Cesar Romero, who played the Joker to her Catwoman in the 1966 Batman film. Who else was there in that Batman film? Frank Gorshin. So we just have all of these Batman guest stars throughout this sort of end run of Star Trek TOS.
Yeah, it was three of the past 4 episodes, right?
Right. We have had Yvonne Craig, Frank Gorshin, and now Lee Merriweather.
I am so looking forward to the Burgess Meredith episode of Star Trek.
You keep looking forward to that, Ken.
Oh, I will.
Lee Merriweather was also in a handful of Mission Impossible episodes alongside Leonard Nimoy. And genre fans may also know her from The Time Tunnel, an Irwin Allen show that premiered the day after Star Trek did in 1966, but it only ran for 1 season. I found this interesting that in 1987, she played Lily Munster in The Munsters Today. John Schuck played Herman, and we will definitely meet him again in Star Trek Yet to Come. We have a lot of Enterprise guest crew members. I don't know if this kind of stood out to you, Ken. It was kind of weird to me. We have no Chekhov, but we have Naomi Pollock at the navigation console as Lieutenant Rada, who, by the way, interesting that we see a Hindu and a female person sitting at the navigation console.
Well, you see a female.
Well, no, but it has been said, and I think that most Star Trek fans and scholars will agree that they're definitely making a point that she is Hindu, what with the traditional, the dot in the middle of her forehead.
Yes, I agree with that.
Seriously, yeah.
Oh, no, I understand that. It's sort of like when they hired that Mexican guy to play the Indian guy, though.
See, well, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I got the impression. Yes.
The character.
Yes. Yes. Sadly, there were actually no Hindus on the planet at the time, nor people from. I'm assuming she was supposed to be from India. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. There were no people in India back in 1969, or no people from India here,
right,
to play her
working in Hollywood. Right?
Yeah. I don't care. She seemed dirty. Honestly, the makeup didn't seem that good. And I'm not saying that like, oh, get that person away. I mean, like her makeup was sort of like she has something on her face. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had unfortunate hair and makeup, and but hey, we A for effort, except in the hair and makeup department.
Well, and
we also
they're not hiring somebody who was actually the thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Please.
We also had Arthur Batanidis as D'Amato. We had Booker Bradshaw. He is back as Dr. Mbenga.
Yeah.
We had Kenneth Washington as Watkins. You have Brad Forrest. You have all these people that show up as all these random crew members, many of whom we have not seen before and will not see again.
Hey, really quick question. Who is the guy sitting in Chekhov's chair?
The guy sitting... you know what? I actually did not write down his name.
Well, don't worry about it. But he's always there, isn't he? I mean, it's the same guy, right?
Well, you had Billy Blackburn, and I believe that's who you're referring to. We had Billy Blackburn a lot in Star Trek. We kind of haven't mentioned him. But yeah, if that is who you're referring to, he actually appears in more episodes than most regular cast members.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's sort of like like once we got rid of Lieutenant Call, then he's our guy.
Billy Blackburn. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk to him.
No, of course not. And by the way, this episode was written by Michael Richards, the guy from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
No.
That one? Really? Was it that one?
No, I'm lying to you. In fact, it's not Michael Richards at all. That's actually DC Fontana's pen name.
Really?
Yeah. So she wrote the story, and then John Meredith Lucas wrote the teleplay. So, yeah, a little strange. And one might wonder, did DC Fontana use her male pseudonym as a name just because she sometimes would, not let on, as in the choosing of DC, that she was female? Or did she change it because she wasn't necessarily happy with the final script? We'll see. Also, here's a neat little bit of trivia. The electrical discharge effects around Scotty when he's in the tube and he's trying to use his magnetic tool to fix the leak of the matter-antimatter, those are tree branches that are filmed and then inverted and then just laid on top of the film of Scotty.
Her diabolical plan laid out, Catwoman moves to take over the Enterprise. Meanwhile, at Space Command, John recaps an episode of Star Trek.
Prologue. Hey, that's a weird planet. Small, dense, it's got gravity and vegetation, but it's really young. These things just don't add up. Well, better send down a landing party, so Kirk, McCoy, Sulu, and Lieutenant D'Amato, a geologist, go to the transporter room. Just as they are being dematerialized by a guy who is definitely not Scotty, a mysterious woman in a purple crop top appears, begging them to stay put. She reaches for not Scotty's shoulder, and he collapses dead on the floor because he is definitely not Scotty, who would otherwise have been at the controls. Now materialized on the planet's surface, there's an earthquake tossing the landing party around. On the Enterprise, there's also a shipquake. And in no time, the landing party can't radio their ship, and the ship can't even see the planet anymore. Stranded and stranded. Act 1. The landing party are starting to go into survival mode while looking for answers to what happened to them and to the Enterprise. Back on the ship, Spock is now acting like a mid-level manager who has to work on a Saturday and snapping at everyone for answers. Scotty has determined that they have been knocked a little off course, like 990.7 light years. Dr. Mbenga has determined that not Scotty, the transporter technician, had all of his cells disrupted, like from the inside out. That'll ruin your day. On the planet, Kirk gives one of those orders that we just know is going to have a questionable outcome. Hey, let's split up. Sulu finds strong magnetic fluctuations that make no sense. McCoy finds a sudden life form reading. D'Amato finds a mystery woman, and the mystery woman finds D'Amato's shoulder with her hand. Pretty soon, Kirk finds D'Amato's corpse, and McCoy finds that D'Amato's cells have been disrupted. All that, and they didn't even have the dignity to dress D'Amato in a red shirt before beaming down. Act 2. Kirk uses his phaser to dig a grave for D'Amato, but the rock on the planet isn't just melting away like it should. Another oddity here, and Sulu is asked to take over with the geological duties to figure out why. Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, they are cruising away at high warp to try to find the captain. Scotty is worried, though. He knows his engines, and he knows that right now, something is wrong. He's not sure he knows what it is, but he does know that he doesn't like it. He asks another crewman, Watkins, to check out the matter-antimatter bypass valve. When Watkins heads off to check, mystery woman in a purple crop top. She's asking about the engine control, but she seems to know an awful lot about the ship's vulnerabilities. Before Watkins can get help from Scotty, he gets the unfriendly hand on his shoulder, and pretty soon Scotty is reporting a casualty to Spock, along with Watkins' last words that a strange woman did it. On the planet, Sulu reports that the planet is probably not naturally occurring, too many oddities, and the people who built it are nowhere to be seen. Sulu wanders away from Kirk and McCoy, who are trying to get some shut-eye on a rock, and he finds, guess who? The mystery woman. There's a little shoulder touching, but before she can kill Sulu, and she says she is only there for Sulu, Kirk and McCoy come running. Phasers don't work on her, but when the woman touches Kirk, nothing happens. She was just there for Sulu, right? Kirk tries to reason with her, but he's getting nowhere. She means no harm. She doesn't want to kill. She just needs to touch Sulu. And then, well, that mystery woman kind of goes all two-dimensional and disappears. She was beautiful, though, as Sulu points out, and Kirk agrees. How are things going on the Enterprise, you might ask? It's been a few minutes, and things are not good. There's a power surge, and Scotty kind of slow her down or something. Maybe that mystery woman had something to do with it when she figured out what poor Watkins was working on. Anyway, there are fewer than 15 minutes left, and then it's bye-bye to the Enterprise. Act 3. Spock is pretty sure that the mystery woman who has left a wake of corpses in her path is responsible for the matter-antimatter juggling that has fused the system and now sends the Enterprise on a race to obliteration. Spock has an answer. Hey, I'll go into that really dangerous part of the ship and do that really dangerous thing that can fix it. Scotty says don't. He'll do it instead. They only have about 12 minutes at this point anyway. Time for a little deduction on the planet. Kirk figures that the mystery woman can only affect one crewman at a time. Perhaps the other two can protect whomever she is after next. Oh, and while he's saying this, his phaser overloads, so he chucks it far enough away to keep the landing party from being destroyed. Scotty has meanwhile crawled into the access tube where he is working on the fuel flow between the matter and antimatter that powers the ship. There is a safety precaution. Spock can actually jettison the pod where Scotty is implanted if he messes up. For more on pods and how to jettison, please review the court records in the case of Starfleet versus James Kirk in the death of Benjamin Finney. Back on the Mystery Planet, guess who shows up again? Well, we were starting to miss her, and now she's come back specifically for Captain Kirk. Act 4. McCoy and Sulu jump in front of Kirk to prevent the whole hand-on-the-shoulder thing happening to Kirk, and now it's time for a little Kirk reasoning with the enemy conversation. Losira, that's her name, is the commander of this station/planet where they all are. She doesn't want to kill them. She just sees them as invaders. Also, she seems really confused. And also, McCoy gets no readings on his tricorder with her standing right there. She's not human, not an android, she's just not. She feels just terrible about all the killing, really doesn't want to do it, but she just can't help herself. She's committed to defending this place. Kirk also manages to get out of her that she is alone, and apparently has been for a very long time. Losira disappears in her neat two-dimensional folding trick again, and now Kirk uses a tricorder to follow all the power surges. You know, the power surges that showed up before but didn't show up when Losira was there because there was no reading. Yeah. The signal leads to a door in one of the large rock formations nearby. Time to go inside and have a look around. Meanwhile, on the ship, Spock has been hard at work on his computer as the minutes tick down. Scotty is just about to use his magnetic probe to seal the leak, but Spock jumps in with some new information. Remember when Scotty said the ship didn't feel right to him? Well, there might have been something to that. Spock now realizes that the Enterprise exists a little out of phase due to their sudden jump way back during the prologue. Scotty will need to reverse the polarity on his magnetic probe to make things right. After fumbling with it a little for dramatic effect and the end of the countdown, Scotty makes it all right at the last second. The Enterprise is safe, and then Spock won't shut up about not giving Scotty a little pat on the back. On the planet, landing party now find themselves in a control room. A spinning cube mounted to the ceiling seems to be the central computer, and in a few seconds, Losira emerges. She has come for Kirk again, and she is determined to touch him, thus scrambling his cells and killing him. McCoy and Sulu try to defend him, but another Losira appears, this one programmed by that central computer for McCoy, then another programmed for Sulu. Things are looking pretty dire when all of a sudden Spock and a security guard beam into the chamber. No time for a rousing Kirk speech. He gives the order to fire at the spinning cube computer, and with that, the three deadly Losiras disappear. Spock and Kirk now figure it all out. The computer brain in charge is the last remnant of a culture that had put in a defense system on this artificial planet. Then, a projection of Losira appears on the wall, and she addresses her fellow Kalandans. She, a voice from the distant past, explains how a manufactured disease had accidentally wiped out her people, and the outpost was set up as a refuge for more like her. It was defended by her avatars, assuming there would be more Kalandans on the way. McCoy figures the real Losira died a long time ago, and any other Kalandans on their way to or from this outpost would have died long ago as well. The computer must have devised the Losira avatars as a way to defend the outpost, but in using Losira as the model, those defensive measures also carried her compassion. It was imperfect enough to not simply wipe them out, allowing them time to survive and for the Enterprise to return. They all ruminate that she must have been a remarkable woman. McCoy points out that she was beautiful as well. Spock can't let this go unchallenged and says that beauty is transitory. Kirk disagrees. Beauty, he says, survives.
So that is that which survives.
That is that.
Oh,
which
okay.
Survives.
I have to take issue with a couple of things that you said. Well done, by the way. You always compliment me.
Well, you do a great job.
Well,
Ken.
you do a great job too, and I feel like I don't tell you that enough, John.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to sing "Wind Beneath My Wings" to you at some point.
Well, honestly, Ken, this is one that when I watched this episode, and I hope I'm not tipping the hat, when I watched this episode, I honestly thought, I can do the summary in 1 minute.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
It's landing party stuck on a planet. Enterprise is really far away. Mystery Woman shows up, and then they realize this is a computer simulated thing from a dead culture. And yet, that was really all there was to it.
And yet, I do feel like there are two things that I have to correct you on.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
It's not necessarily a manufactured disease. It was something that they accidentally made while they were making the planet. Mm-hmm. I believe is what she said. So it's not like, this is not like the Miri thing where, they're trying to come up with a biological something and then they accidentally come up with a biological something else.
Right.
It's more like, and this is kind of weird, it's more like if you were building a building and accidentally created a contagion. Right. You know what I mean? That's right. That's a little bit more odd. The other thing, you say that Scotty crawls in to, the conduit.
He kind of slips in.
No, he doesn't. He's got a posse. It was the weirdest thing ever, right? So he walks in and he's not carrying anything, and there are two guys with him. One hands him his little hydro spanner or sonic screwdriver or whatever that is that he's going to have to reverse the polarity on. Right. The other is apparently just there for show, and then he's like, "All right, fellas, head first." And I'm like, what are they going to do before he leaves? And it turns out they're picking him up to put him in there.
Right.
Now, I mean, James Doohan, no offense. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about Star Trek V, Scotty, you might need a couple of guys to get you up there. Yeah. This was a young, spry Scotty. As young and spry as we ever see Scotty. This was that. But he needs two guys to lift him up, which was kind of... I wondered if that was just, I don't really command as much as I could.
Yeah. Right.
Is that what that was?
Come on, guys.
Right. Yeah. Like Spock's been bossing him around the whole episode. He's like, you know what I need? Somebody to boss around. You come with me. I'm going to ask you to do some stuff, and I don't even want to hear it. Yeah. Because it's stuff that I could certainly do, but what did I just say? I don't want to hear it.
And while I'm in there, somebody else go, clean the tiles in my bathroom because you need something to do.
Because I said so. That's why.
Yeah, no, very true, very true.
12 minutes yet left to live? Yeah, you will spend those 12 minutes doing what I say.
Yeah, don't write that goodbye letter. No. Exactly. No. Come push me in the tube. Yeah.
Which sounds dirty. That's totally a Fee Waybill song right there.
Yeah, right.
Push me in the tube.
Right. Few things to note here in this episode. By the way, we're playing very fast and loose with time and distance. Light years, the whole countdown, just the whole concept of time and distance. We just don't even care.
What was she counting down to, by the way? I get it, but when she gets to 1 and then nothing happens... Yeah. I kind of wanted her to get up and go, great, now we're all dead. I hope you're happy. Because it's very dramatic when she's like 6, 5, and you get to 1, and then... Are you sure you did it right? Right. Because I think something else,
Well, nobody's going to ask Spock if you did it wrong.
That's true. That's true. I think you should have started counting 0.37 seconds later.
Right, right.
Lieutenant Rada.
The whole, the Kalandans, the computer device, it is a very interesting way to kill invaders, but very inefficient. You have to make a new one every time, and you have to go touch somebody on the shoulder.
Interesting. Were you under the impression they were making a new one every time or just reprogramming the same one?
I kind of thought that they were making a new one every time just because we see the 3 at the end. So then I kind of filled in with what had come before. This was a new thing.
Interesting. Because I was under the impression that it was reprogramming, although they could make more than one when they were faced with more than one. Yeah. It's crazy, actually. Well, maybe we should. I guess we can save that to the next one.
Sure.
I am curious about that weapon system. Mm-hmm. So maybe we circle back to that. Okay. Hey, can I? Speaking of circling back,
yeah, do it.
Oh my goodness, they actually remembered something. So they're like, the Horta. Sulu was standing there, and they're like, "So what's going on here?" And Sulu's like, "Hey, could it be a Horta?" Of course, he doesn't say that. He's like, "You remember those things that were like rocks from Genesis 6? The planet he remembers, but the name of the intelligent race that they discovered and made contact with. Yeah, not so much.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool and very surprising. And of course, completely like sloughed off immediately. But still, because they were right, it wasn't a Horta.
Right.
So again, but way to go anyway. I mean, you throw that line in there because that's right. We have actually been on this ship for more than a week. Mm-hmm. It was kind of awesome. Kind of awesome to hear. Yeah,
and we remembered people who aren't there, like mentioning Chekhov by name, but there is no Chekhov in the show.
Yep.
I feel kind of bad for him there.
Yeah, what's up with everybody's attitude in this episode, though?
Dude, it's uncomfortable.
Totally.
It really is. So you have Kirk getting testy with Sulu.
Yep.
You have Spock getting testy with Scotty. Scotty testy with Watkins. And then, like you surmise, he's just getting these two guys to shove him in the tube because he can. It's really uncomfortable. And we're back to this thing that you have pointed out many times where the characters are just being whatever we need them to be in the episode.
Yeah.
Especially Spock here.
But why did we need them to be that specifically? I mean, Spock is unnaturally obtuse. Spock is 3PO in a way that we haven't seen really since the first season.
Right.
But yeah, everybody hates everybody in this episide. And there's like I think something rolls downhill. I can't remember what that is, but something rolls downhill. And because I remember I was actually watching it with my wife last night. Or night before last or sometime. I can't remember. And we're like, wow, Spock's being a jerk. And then, of course, Scotty turns immediately around and starts being a jerk to his underling. And I'm like, yep, stuff rolls downhill.
Yeah.
It's kind of it. I felt bad that Watkins didn't have time to go find an ensign.
Yeah, right.
To yell at before he met his maker or, Lee Merriweather.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that whole thing is just very, very weird. But I will give Spock some props here. Speaking of props, he's actually using his own brain remote control. I don't know if you noticed that. He's walking around on the bridge holding that little device, and that was his brain remote control from Spock's brain.
Was it really?
So really, he's got to have a sense of humor about the whole thing.
I guess so.
Maybe McCoy gave it to him after the whole, hey, look, here's what I use to control your brain or your body,
Yeah. Huh. That's kind of, that struck me as out of place.
And I don't want to get into it in our topical discussion, but the line that just cracked me up, Losira appears to Kirk, and right after the one who's programmed for Sulu almost kills Sulu. And what does Kirk say? Are there men on this planet? Of course. Of course that's what Kirk asks.
Well, the two, and then the other question, of course, is, are you lonely? That was the other one.
Right.
Like, is this going to be another one of those episodes where I'm like, are we in love now? Are we falling in love? Because that's what's supposed to happen by page 3.
Right. Exactly. Is that a ripped shirt in sight? What's going on here? Yeah. Hey, and that scene, though, where Spock asks Scotty about going into the most dangerous part of the ship and then doing something by hand, and then Scotty saying no. I hope we get to revisit a scene like that sometime in the future, because, that could have played out a very different way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one day we'll have a
spoiler alert.
Right?
Is that what you're doing? I think that's what you're doing.
That's what I'm doing. And also, I kind of am amused at the idea that there is no time to talk the computer out of killing anyone. We just have to shoot it, and we have to save the Kirk speech for another time.
Speaking as a computer that's wanted to kill everyone a time or two, take all the time you want to talk me out of it. Not sure it'll help.
So I'm kind of fascinated by the weapon that is Losira in this. Kind of a neat thing to play with. Not as much to play with as we've gotten in other episodes in the past, but I do like the fact that it is a weapon that sort of recalibrates itself for specific people. Now, it kind of goes against what she says in her big recorded message at the end, when she says, I'm going to kill everything except for us Kalandans, because it doesn't really do that. Because if it did that, then when they landed on the planet, they would just all be dead, and she would have taken over the Enterprise. There's a weird, or just destroyed the Enterprise. There's a weird sort of thing of, like, you know, tailoring itself for one person is kind of a fun idea. I mean, in a scary way. You know, the idea of almost like cellular weaponry or nanotechnology weaponry that really, you know, can mate itself to one person. Right. You said earlier inefficient. I think that there's actually kind of a neat efficiency about that if you're looking to, you know, take out one guy. There's too much stuff about the weapon that doesn't make sense, but I found that part kind of interesting. Like, okay, so it can knock the Enterprise 990.7 light years away.
And still send a Losira out there.
Right. And then why is it going after Watkins?
Right.
Like, I mean, he's like not even a thing. He's like, it could have been somebody else there at that point, but she's like, John Watkins, I'm for you, right?
Yeah, you're toast, buddy.
Right. And she knows everything about Watkins. Actually, he says that. I know my reaction actually was like, you know everything about me. And I'm like, dude, she's actually only told you like your name.
Right.
You know, and what you do. And she can tell what you do partly because of where you are. So really, it's just your name. And she knows when you're lying. Okay, that's true. So I found that part of it kind of interesting. Now, the thing that's weird is I'm not sure how they're figuring out that everybody's cells have been completely disrupted.
Not at all.
Because they haven't been. Right. They're like, it's like his cells exploded from the inside. And when I say like that, it's not really like that, because his cells actually didn't explode, because look, there's his body.
He looks exactly the same.
right.
You know,
it's like his cells exploded.
I mean, on a cellular level, I'm picturing like a water balloon, or no, not a water balloon, like a beer bottle that got left in the freezer and it just explodes from the inside and just leaves a mess. You know, that's interesting. Sulu's like, hey, I'm fine. I'll get up and walk around, and you know, even my shirt is okay.
Yeah, he should have been like a zombie. His arm should have fallen off like the second she touched him, because you know, all just those cells
exactly
exploded. Maybe it's interesting. You picture like a beer bottle or a water balloon. I just picture stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like if you poke. My cousin did this to me when I was a kid. If you poke a Stretch Armstrong, it was like this red goo inside.
I remember that well. Yeah.
That's what I picture.
Okay. Well, now we know.
That's what should have happened. But
exactly.
Oh well. Exactly. I mean, there's something kind of neat about the weapon thing. It is weird to me, though. We don't know a thing about the Kalandans except that they're apparently fairly advanced because they can build planets, small planets. You know, but they can build planets, which, I mean, bigger than the planets that I can build. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and give them props for that.
Sure.
They can make a computer system that'll last, I mean, like Landru, you know, battery life on this thing, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a bummer that their immediate thought is, so what we need to do is make sure that anything else that comes here dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, it is strange. I mean, there's a couple of things about that, and you correctly corrected me that I kind of made it sound like they were just in the disease-making business.
Yeah,
but no, that was an accidental byproduct, but it was a manufactured.
Yeah, come to think of it, maybe they're not so good at building planets. Because again, you know, what happened? Well, I was putting a porch on the back of my house,
and then I made anthrax. Yeah. But
right, probably shouldn't have bought the stuff to make anthrax when I was making the porch.
Right.
Oh well.
But it kind of tells you something about the Kalandans, though. Like they're very advanced, but then they seem to be in this kind of, and maybe I'm projecting too much, but in this kind of arms race where their technology has gotten to the point where they can create these intelligent computers that will manufacture a weapon based on whatever the threat is coming its way. They've also gotten advanced enough that they can build planets, and that maybe part of the byproduct of building a planet is some biological agent that does not sit well with other Kalandans. But yeah, I'm kind of putting this picture together in my head of the Kalandans being advanced, but also maybe a little too advanced for their ability to handle their own technology, their own weapons, you know?
I want to say three things really quickly just to get them out of my head.
Yeah, okay. Do it.
First of all, Michael Kalandon, okay, because that's been going through my head the whole time and driving me nuts. And so I'm hoping if I just say it, it'll be done.
Good job.
Second thing is they're sort of like precursors or follow-ons to the Magrathians from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't know if you know them. They built custom planets. And so they kind of remind me of that. And they also had an automated defense system.
Wow.
That destroyed people who, came through. And not often that you actually get to make a real connection between Star Trek and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right.
But there's one right there. And I can't remember what the third thing was. Oh, you say, maybe you're projecting a little bit. You have no choice but to project in this episode.
Yeah, that's very true.
The summation at the end of this episode is them really just making stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean, they know about Losira, and they know, why things happen because she spells that out. But still, at the end of it, they're like, oh, she was so conflicted. I didn't get that. I mean, remember when Kirk used to just pull computer jujitsu all the time, right?
Right.
And by the way, this episode should have ended in Act 1. I mean, the second they realize that this is an automated thing that's coming for them, then Kirk should be like, oh, I got this.
You're right.
Hey, Losira, figure out pi for me.
Right.
Ta-da. Right. Yeah, I mean, that really, so it's kind of, there's a whole lot of, I mean, not just on our part, I think, or on the viewer's part, but even on the part of the people from the Enterprise of just like, I got to make this make sense in my head. So here, I'm going to try this, and you guys tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I agree. There is something about this that I do kind of like in the science fiction-y aspect of this, that this sort of time capsule that is left behind by the Kalandans, is not there for fun like an earthbound time capsule that we might create at a World's Fair, Right. But I like the idea that a message and a mechanism is in place intended for the people who would follow Losira. And she is then the representation of an entire civilization gone completely bust at its own hands, accidentally. But the last remnant is still there for someone else to discover. And we've done this, a little bit on Star Trek every now and then. When Kirk gets inhabited by Sargon, it's sort of like, well, we destroyed ourselves, but we left behind this thing, hopefully to be discovered, hopefully so we will be remembered or can have some version of a life after our mistakes. So I thought that was kind of cool if I'm digging for cool things in this episode. Mm-hmm. And I do want to visit the last line here for just a second. The beauty, dramatic pause, survives line that Kirk says. Because after seeing the episode several times in preparation for this, I'll kind of take my cynical hat off for a minute and say that Kirk, ladies' man Kirk, even though they've pointed out how many times she is beautiful physically beautiful in the episode, right, that he is talking about the range of emotion, the compassion, and as he says, the regret and the guilt at the prospect of killing. That the display of human compassion, a human-like compassion, imprinted on a computer-driven avatar is a kind of beauty. So if there is something positive to be gleaned out of this, I kind of like that. But also, she was hot. If you're just looking at this cynically through the eyes of a sexist crew, but I'm not doing that. right now. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying that that they managed to give it a somewhat poetic ending and fix what Spock said at the end by giving Kirk that last line.
Yeah, I didn't feel it.
Yeah, well,
going back to what I said just a minute ago, there's so much projection in this episode. It's crazy. I didn't even get the sense that she regretted killing. I mean, she's like a perfect killing machine. Like, hey, D'Amato, don't be afraid. I'm not afraid. First of all, he's an idiot. Be afraid. Okay, she wasn't there, and now she's there, and now she's advancing on you. And the whole time he's like, hey, this is cool. He actually says that, right? She's like, I am for D'Amato. And he's like, well, lucky D'Amato. Just kind of, unless that was his name. Maybe he was just introducing himself more formally. Lucky. Right. Now, call me Lucky. It didn't feel to me like there was regret. It didn't feel to me like there was conflict necessarily. It felt to me like a weapon system that was either malfunctioning or using obfuscation to get what it wanted. I didn't get the real sense that she even understood that she was killing. I mean, she's just saying, I don't want to kill you. I just want to touch you, which, by the way, will lead to your death. But let's not talk about that. I just want to touch you. I mean, she is produced for a specific purpose. To not serve that purpose pains her in a way. And it doesn't matter that means that somebody's going to die. I mean, she doesn't even pause when she's about to kill somebody. So, I mean, the fact that this gun has printed on it, I don't want to kill you, does not say to me that, well, of course a gun is not really a fair thing. I mean, the fact that she's a gun. I mean, the fact that, she's taking aim saying, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. There, she's like Jack Nicholson coming through in The Shining. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to bash your brains in. Right. Well,
but she's an intelligent weapon modeled by a computer. Take like Nomad, okay? Nomad, the unfeeling, unflinching, total lack of compassion. It's just completely following its programming to go out into the universe and wipe out anything that is not pure by its standards. This is a little bit different. I mean, even though the computer is designed to get rid of intruders, we have to assume that the Klandans are intelligent beings, and maybe if the Klandans were still around, they would tell their computer, oh, wait, we don't mean just kill every intelligent being. Wait, we can actually talk to these people. Hang on.
See, I think you're looking at it and seeing Lee Merriweather. I mean, no, honestly, I think that's what it is. I mean, I think it is because she's pretty. I think that's the only thing that Kirk's seeing and that anybody else is seeing as well. Because, I mean, you say, maybe the Klandans would say, hey, don't kill everything, except, everybody on their planet is dying. So what does she do? She sets up a system that will kill anybody but the Klandans. I mean, because this was not like a Landru. I mean, we've always sort of assumed that Landru malfunctioned somewhere along the way, or this was not like a Nomad. This was like Losira saying, wow, that guy's dead. I'm going to be dead soon. I better set up something that kills anybody that I don't want to be here. I mean, that was her conscious decision. And that's how she spent the last of her days, making sure that anybody who came there that wasn't her kind would be destroyed.
Yeah, but see, but I'm still going by that hesitation as not just seeing pretty Lee Merriweather, but I'm going by that hesitation in that conversation with Kirk. He's calling her out, the computer-driven Losira, essentially saying, what is your mission? And she's getting confused by it. I have to protect. I have to do this to you, but I don't quite understand what it is that I'm doing. I don't necessarily want to kill. So that's what I'm saying. I think there's a conflict here between, if the computer had just built a missile, if it had just built a thing with an exploding warhead that it can shoot at whatever is coming toward it, that would be one thing. But what we have is this kind of weird amalgamation of the unfeeling defensive weapon along with what I have to assume was a being with a kind of compassion and at least intelligence to be able to tell the difference between what is a real invader that is threatening versus what is not, what is another intelligent being that hopefully could be reasoned with. But now we're so far removed from that point that all we have left is the defensive capability.
See, that's really interesting. I would say that you would get just as much by asking a cash register next time what it is it wants. No, because I mean seriously, because all we get is we ask her a question, and because she's got some sort of interface that, you know, intelligent beings can interface with, and I wish I hadn't just used that word twice that way.
Sure, yeah.
But because she's got some kind of interface with which people can interact, then, you know, she's going to give an answer, and that answer may be stupid. It's no more intelligent an answer and no more of a struggling answer or no more of a self-consideration answer, it seems to me, than asking a light bulb or asking a cash register or asking whatever. It's got sort of a human form and it can speak back to you. But the fact that it's confused, I mean, doesn't stop, doesn't even think about stopping, as a matter of fact. The next time they come in contact with it, it's found a better way to kill. Oh, you know what my problem is? I am one, and there are three of them, and the three of them can stop me very easily. By the way, they stop that weapon the same way I stop my dog. It's kind of funny to me. He wants to go down the hall. I don't want him to go down the hall. I stand in front of him, and he's totally stymied. So is this really super weapon, except that this super weapon then says, oh, you know what? You know what stopped me last time? There weren't enough of me. So I'm going to actually make myself more dangerous now. It feels to me like anybody who sees anything in this as far as like a struggle on Losira's part is absolutely projecting. It seems to me, and that's Kirk. That's Bones.
Definitely me.
And you, yeah, and that's fine. I mean, that's cool. Whatever helps you sleep.
When it comes to an episode like this, are you like me? Can't get to the cartoons fast enough.
So here we are, Ken, the wrap-up of another episode of Star Trek, the original series, that which survives. And we have to ask ourselves, well, what did we get out of it? But first of all, before we get into what we got out of it, how does it hold up? You know, how do you rank this episode?
I wish something else had happened. I wish something more had happened. I was kind of bored and sad after the first time watching it for this show that I was going to have to watch it again and again. It's Lee Meriwether is nice. Bill Tice does a fantastic job every time he's given the opportunity to. Everybody walked around in this episode angry, even before anything bad happened. I thoroughly enjoyed, obviously, based on the conversation that we just had, playing with the mechanics of the weaponry that was set up. Sure. But no, I don't think this episode... I mean, it's not that it doesn't hold up. It's just, it's not worth your time.
Yeah. It
doesn't seem to me. So, I mean, I don't know. When you ask the question, does the episode hold up? The problem is I'm not sure this episode worked the first time. I wasn't there for it. But I mean, if you're starved for science fiction, then bad science fiction is great. We're not as starved for science fiction as we were in 1969, I don't think. As far as on television, heck, I could probably go to my television right this minute and find at least 2 sci-fi things. And they might both be terrible, but we've got more now than we had then. I doubt that this episode was great that week, except that people who love Star Trek love Star Trek. And, I would rather watch this than Sliders. But but I don't feel like, personally, for me, it did not hold up. What about you?
Yeah, the weird thing about this episode is the pedigree behind it. So you have D.C. Fontana and John Meredith Lucas, who are not slouches when it comes to Star Trek. They know Star Trek, and yet the dialogue feels like it was written by somebody who has just the most cursory understanding of the characters. Like, they saw one scene where Spock might have said something kind of, smug or correcting somebody else, and they just say, okay, we're going to do the whole episode around that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't fit as a piece of Star Trek writing, which is what's very strange to me.
The writing on this, honestly, the whole time, until you said the thing about DC Fontana, that honestly throws me a bit, because I assumed that this was a fan that was basically writing a Revenge of the Nerd episode, right? Somebody
Right.
who's like always been right, somebody who's always known the answer and who's always been beaten up for it.
Yeah.
That they get to write this episode where the coolest thing you can be is a know-it-all, because that's what everybody is in this episode.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seems like. It sort of, it suffers from that. And the weird thing is, you said earlier, we've got that thing again where, you know, the character is being what they need to be.
Yeah.
These characters didn't even need to be that.
Right.
I mean, that's what's
right.
bizarre. Like, if there's a reason that it's important to know that they are 990.7 light years away as opposed to about 991 light years away. I mean, if that actually played in later, then you'd be like, okay, well, now I understand why we had that this whole episode. It never plays in. It's just Spock being the kind of jerk that we have not seen him be since season 1. And even then, it didn't feel like he was just being a jerk.
No. I mean, but in this, he's just being pedantic. And
Yeah.
it's really unsettling.
Like, he's sick of humans. In this episode, he is sick of humans.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care who knows it.
And the whole bit, with Scotty in the tube working, and you just hear Spock's voiceover in there, like, now you've got 11.37 seconds. Like, dude, I will work better if you knock it off. You know?
Yeah.
That's not helping.
Otherwise, it was awesome, though.
Yeah, otherwise it was great. Now, I mean, here's the thing. It's just, I think because of the writing and the pacing was really bad, you have a kernel of an idea here. You have a little bit of that creepy factor that I like, but it's just meandering, and I feel like the division of the A plot, B plot is jarring. Like, we really are just filling time to get to that 48-minute mark. And the problem is, you know, I hate to compare Star Trek to other Star Trek. Like, I want to look at an episode on its own and judge its merits on its own. But then you watch an episode like this and you go, man, City on the Edge of Forever, that's a great episode because there is no wasted dialogue at all. You can't skip one scene in that because everything flows together perfectly from beginning to end. And in this one, you could watch the first 10 minutes and then you could just jump to the last 5 and you're totally caught up.
Yeah.
You know?
This might have been a good episode of the animated series because those are 30 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah,
might have
perfect.
worked that way, but
Yeah.
All right.
So is there a message here, Ken?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. This was sort of what you were talking about a couple of weeks ago with Whom Gods Destroy. We got a situation. We got to get out of the situation. That's pretty much it. That's all this episode was. And unfortunately, I mean, as you just said, and as I just said, I mean, this is a situation that could have been wrapped up in 30 minutes or less. And so making it 48 is just a struggle. It's just, no.
If they had moved the reveal about Losira to the middle of the episode, and then it actually became about what happened to the Kalandans, the missteps in building their weapons, in this whole plan, there might have been something to explore there, and you might have been able to squeeze in a really good Kirk speech.
Yeah.
You know,
talking over with Losira why it is that she has to do what she has to do, or making her understand that she is in fact killing. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, going back to the whole projection idea, you and Kirk and a couple of others seem to be under the impression that she's struggling with it. And to me, it's just sort of like it's a glitch in her programming. She doesn't really get that she's killing, but she does have a purpose that she has to serve. And if it had actually come to a place of talking it over with her or something like that, then you might have had something. Or, I mean, I would have been disappointed if they had pulled the mental jujitsu, as we used to call it. Yeah. But at least that would have made sense to me. I mean, it's implacable foe, and then somebody's going to swoop in and save them.
And with a phaser, no less. Like, oh, we're at the end, shoot the phaser, boom, we're done.
And the other thing that's kind of funny is, like, shoot the computer. Yeah. Luckily, they knew what he was talking about, because that could have been just a light fixture.
It could have. Yeah. A very nice one at that. Exactly. Yeah.
They
Well,
shoot the computer and
Great.
yeah.
Now we can't even see where she's coming from. So thanks.
Right.
Thanks. I
Right.
hope you hit the computer while you were shooting out the light bulb. Way to go.
Yeah. Well, Ken, I'll tell you one thing that does survive in addition to beauty. It is that Star Trek survives. And that means that next week there will be more Star Trek for us to discuss. Next week, The Lights of Zetar.
Some of the music for the mission log provided by Warp 11, online at warp11.com, and from the album Messages by Key Theory, free to download at kitheory.com. No matter what happens, dear listener or subscriber, always remember, and never forget, I am for you. End transmission.
Now leaving Nerdist.com.